Okay, so welcome, Kat. This is your interview to talk about your experience with somatic memory repatterning technique, SMART for short. And we'll just give people a bit of a background because I reached out to you. We're on Facebook. We hadn't met before. So, we're kind of getting to know each other now through this therapy. But I reached out to you because I saw you shared a post wanting to heal like the father wound, the masculine wound, a pattern that you've been experiencing in relationships that's been ruling your relationships, let's say, this continual pattern. And I reached out and said, would you like to be a case study for the SMART technique? And since then, we've given you a session, homework, nervous system integration.
Mm.
So, in your own words, let's just tell people what you've noticed before, during, after the SMART session.
Okay, so before doing the smart session, I felt I've just had this deep distrust of men
Mm.
generally, not just men, but like close relationships because of probably what I experienced initially with my dad and then replicating all my other subsequent relationships. And at this particular point, which is why I wrote my like cry for help almost on Facebook, that I just feel like it's the one thing that still holds me back, not just in relationships with my whole life, because um been living in fear, not trusting myself, not having sort of any sort of safety or calm within, in order to really make probably good, clear decisions about relationships and my life.
Yeah, I remember you saying about that came up in one of the sessions or the consultation. It was about really wanting to be clear because there was this kind of disconnect. A lot came up about not being heard, not being able to speak your truth. Um, that's right. It's all coming back to me now, that first session. So we didn't transition straight into a session just because the nervous system was just needed to rebalance. So I think we left it a week. We gave you some integration nervous system techniques. So tell me how you started to notice the small changes even from doing that.
Yeah, I mean, those techniques, even though they seem really simple, are really powerful. They helped me to feel much calmer and sort of more peaceful within, and actually probably like almost feel that sort of connection with myself again, because I think that's something that I've lost, and sort of learning to really know that it's okay to be me. I start to feel that sense that okay, it is okay to be me and it's okay to like love myself because that was not really happening. So that sort of it was a really nurturing those movements that go along with the words, they're very nurturing and grounding. Yeah.
And did you start to notice kind of subtle changes? Because I think there was a little incident that came where you said you felt confident putting a bit of a boundary in, which you wouldn't normally do so well.
Yeah, there was just I just noticed that I was sort of showing up differently in different situations, and also um so I'm just trying to think now what it was because my head is banging. But just um probably being able to speak up more where I might have just let something go, or just and not noticing that um I have got standards and certain things are not okay for me, and it's okay for me to actually say that and move away from that impetus, whether it's like a man or a friend or whatever it is, because then I'm choosing me, what's right for me. And I don't think I've really done that very much in the past. I've just sort of I actually, yeah, what I'd learned is that what I tend to do is I panic because I think, oh, there's going to be no one else to love me if I don't choose this person. Like, I've got to do it. Like, and it's not really the right. And I actually, my body knows it isn't right, which is then what creates that sort of like unease. And I think that's what I've done my whole life and all my relationships is actually that recognition through doing that, that I don't have to choose that. I can choose something else.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's really powerful because that was just the homework, just the nurturing. That's the stuff we just use just to get yourself connected to yourself. So that's really lovely feedback. So tell us what happened after the session. What have you noticed? Because it's been about 2 weeks since we last connected,
Yeah.
isn't it?
I think I've sort of been up and down because when you do like any sort of work on your like which goes into your subconscious, there's an integration period afterwards. So I think there was one there was one situation where um I started to feel like these old feelings come bubbling up to the surface, but I just sort of allowed them, and I was like, I didn't really sort of allow them to become my narrative, I suppose. I just thought, okay, that's a feeling that I'm recognizing, but it's not really me, and I can just continue, and I don't have to sort of make that my reality in that moment. I can choose to like recognize it and let it go. So I think that's something that's definitely happened subsequently, is that I might have, those old thoughts coming up, but then recognize that they are just thoughts. They're not, they don't have to be my reality. Um, and also I feel like I've been having been having a lot of sort of like downloads and epiphanies about like where I am in my life and like what, and it's almost like an awakening in some way that I don't have to accept that, and actually I want to be chosen, and I don't need to chase it or panic. Like everything is working out. And I think it's just taught me also to sort of like be more relaxed, because
Yeah,
that's something I realized that I've not been doing. I almost have that like limerence with people because of what I grew up with.
yeah,
And that's so unhealthy, that attachment. But I've recognized, and actually, someone different has come into my life, and I'm just sort of going, and it's really new territory because it's no things like that don't really happen. It's like there was always, yeah, for some reason, really fast, really connected. I think that's my panic thing when this is a person that I've connected with.
yeah,
We're going to get married, da, 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 and it's like crazy, really.
yeah.
And actually, something is showing me like, oh, this is what like maybe healthy looks like.
I'm loving that. So I love that. That's really amazing. So what I'm hearing you say is, yeah, you're noticing a thought pattern, but it's not, as you say, you're not making it your reality, where before you didn't have a choice. It was an automatic response
Mm,
behavior that would ensue based on the emotional trigger. And how SMART works is we find a memory and we do the specific unique technique, which is for SMART, and then that rewires the emotional fire alarm that goes off with the memory. So triggers happen in all relationships as adulthoods, but this memory took you right back to being a little girl. So
mm,
that safety in the brain and nervous system had been firing for all of these years. And triggering you into this automatic response.
mm,
And now you're noticing, yep, those old thoughts might come up, but your body is not responding to it in
mm,
the automatic way. So that's neuroscience. You're rewiring your brain and you're creating safety in your body by not responding anymore to that old pathway. And you're also creating the new version of yourself by having these epiphanies. I do deserve to be chosen. I am lovable, whatever it is you're telling yourself now. And now that version is creating this new reality for you. So how do you notice your nervous system is daily? Because I know it was a little bit,
yeah.
a lot, there was a lot of turmoil in there, wasn't there, at the
I do
time?
feel like I'm much calmer. Yeah, there's been a sort of like de-escalation of that, because I think a lot I didn't realize. I've even recognized it, like, so for example, I look after people's dogs, and I
Mm.
just had a load at the weekend, and they went home, and I was like, the energy is so different. So I am really good at recognizing how my body is feeling, because I was like, my body feels so different now. But then it's the same thing with this. It's like getting rid of certain people out of my life that come into my life, which I thought was healthy, but it wasn't. And it's just that's made a massive difference as well. And it's also doing this work has just taught me, like it's I'm just creating that safety from within rather than like trying to find it without, because it has to start within anyway.
Yeah,
So
and I love that.
yeah.
Do you feel like significantly different?
Yeah.
Yeah. How amazing is that? How does it feel to finally feel this way?
But it just feels liberating, which is what we want. I think feeling free for all humans, because, we do create our own prisons metaphorically. And to have that sense of like being free from that belief, limiting belief, is that it's just like it's priceless, really, because that's, feel that sense of peace and freedom is what we sort of aspire to as humans, really. Yeah,
Yeah.
deconditioning.
I love that because from where when I first met you and the story you were telling me is so different and just so amazing to hear the difference, the two versions of the cat I've met in this short space of time. It's lovely. I'm really happy for you, Kat. And this
Thank
will just
you.
continue to do its work. So just explain to people like what did you notice after the session? Did any memory flooding come up? Did you feel a bit dysregulated?
Um, I think initially, yeah, because there is that, like you said, it's quite powerful. It does go into subconscious, and obviously we hold all of our beliefs within our body, the trauma that whatever that trauma is, that we perceive as children, and um, so I do feel like there's sort of things. It's almost like things sort of coming up to the top to be released. So I did feel a bit like emotional the first couple of days, but since then I've just sort of been, feeling like calmer and calmer, really. But yeah, I mean that's I think people should be aware that's a normal thing, whatever, protocol they're using, whether it's SM, whatever they're doing. But
Yeah,
this is brilliant.
yeah.
It was so simple what we did, and I felt really safe with you, and yeah, it was really good.
Good. And just to let people know, I mean, the session took about 40 minutes, something like
Mm.
that.
Yeah,
We had a consultation and then we did a session and we did homework with you as well. But all in all, it's taken 40 minutes to rewire
yeah,
trauma-based belief that was wrecking your life, wrecking your relationships, and wrecking your nervous system. So rewiring of the brain is really fast, done in a safe way, in the right context. It's super powerful for people. So thanks so much for coming back on and sharing your sports story, especially when you don't feel
sorry,
well
I'm still
today.
trying not to sniff.
You
It's so
look amazing, but I really appreciate you being here because you're not well. So what would you say to people who were in the same situation as you? You notice a relationship attachment, you got a lot of self-awareness, you knew that it came from the father wound, let's say. What
yeah.
would you say to people who were struggling like you were?
To reach out. I mean, we're not, there's only so much we can do by ourselves. And actually, when we get to that point where we're like, okay, it's enough, then it's so important to reach out. And I think this is, you know, I think some sort of methods can feel quite scary to, but this is really simple. Like we said, it's like if you don't have loads of time, which people don't, again, it's a really great sort of quick way. You're held safely. You're really good at following up. So I'd recommend doing this. I highly recommend it because it has been, you can't put a price on your well-being. And I think, I would recommend doing this to anybody.
Yeah, yeah, thank you. And just remind me, have you had therapy, counseling, psychotherapy, anything like that before to help this or
Not this particular issue. As I said, it's like I feel like we're onions.
yeah,
I've had other things, but I think the more work that we do and the more awareness that we have, we think, oh, there's the next layer. And this is sort of this kept, but this was like a really deep rooted one, which I said to you, is like when we're looking at the core memories that came up, that one had come up before in another like different, but not in the same way. It was a different meaning
yeah,
actually, and I didn't realize, but it was able to sort of almost dig that bit out. And I was like, it was almost like I was like, oh my gosh, I said to you, I didn't even realize that was there.
I know,
And
yeah,
I was walking around with that feeling of shame, but I didn't realize that was where I'd sort of integrated that and formed that belief from that memory until we did this. So That, I mean, there's nothing like that's amazing.
Yeah, I know. And just for context, when we originally tune into that memory, it's very alive and active, isn't it? And
Yeah.
that's what's
Yeah.
being triggered in all the ad situations. But then when we did the SMART technique and you tune back into the memory, there's no emotional left. There was a little bit left, and you carried on working at home by yourself. But is there any emotion? Does that just feel so neutral to you now?
Yeah, it's like it's really like it's this is the interesting thing, isn't it, when you speak about that? Because obviously when we first like looked at it, it was like a sort of like almost like alarm bells around it. And now it's just like it's quite blurry. I would say it's a bit like my screen background. It's quite blurry. There's not really any, it's like, oh yeah, that happened, you
Yeah,
know, which is like so you're taking the power away from it.
that's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Kat. I'll stop the recording now, love.